What is a case of instant karma that you witnessed? Alright, so, was buying some drinks at a Circle K one day while visiting someone in Florida, and these old tourists cut us in line, all the while complaining and bickering loudly about everything, how expensive everything is, how crowded the beach is, it's too hot, etc. Then, they are also really rude to the cashier, and take forever arguing about the price of the hot dogs that they were buying or something. They leave, and as we walk out, we witness a seagull come by and snatch the guy's hot dog right out of his hand. His wife then shrieks and proceeds to drop hers out of surprise. I know it wasn't that big of a deal, but it was so effing hilarious watching that happening that I still remember it 5 years later. Next story. We were driving home late from work one night, both bartenders, maybe midnight. We live in a small community, and we were at the 1/4 mile section that goes from 55 to 45 to 35 to 25. Then a giant lifted truck decided that he wanted to continue going 55. He was up our ass, brights on, so close you couldn't even see his bumper. It was like his lights were in our car. Then, pretty much 2 seconds after one of us said, "Where's a cop when you need one?" a deputy passed us going the opposite direction and immediately flipped and pulled him over. Still gives me the warm fuzzies. F that guy. Next story. So, not 100% instant karma, but pretty quickly. Sure. See, I was working at a staffing agency. I'm a recruiter. Pretty small team, and this was actually another recruiter on my team that this happened to. So, my coworker was working with this guy who was pretty sharp. He was a programmer. His company was doing layoffs, but he was told he wouldn't be affected. My coworker contacted him, chatted about the situation, and said he would be interested in looking around. We just had a new client give us a position to help on that fit his background. We lined up an interview pretty quickly. He interviewed and got the position. Great. It was even a little salary bump. Straight direct hire, no contract stuff. He goes in, works his first week, all is great, all smiles. Well, that next Monday shows up and he isn't there. The company calls us asking where he is, so my coworker calls him. He answers the phone, and my coworker asks, "Hey, is everything okay? You no-called, no-showed today over at the company." And then the guy proceeds to tell us, "Yeah, I never actually quit my job. I just took my vacation for the week to see if I liked the place. It was okay, but I'll just stay here." And my coworker responds with, "Man, is there anything I can do? This puts us in a tight spot. This is a brand new customer of ours. Can I do anything?" Then right after that, the guy tells us, "Well, quite frankly, I don't give a crap what kind of a position it puts you in, nor do I care if they are a new customer. I'm staying. Don't call me again," and hangs up the phone. But he got laid off the next week. Next story. So, this happened while visiting New York City. I watched someone bend down to pick up a wallet. Someone ahead of them had just dropped it. All of this was going down in the crosswalk, and I was in the passenger seat with my dad driving. Guy A, who picked up the wallet, began ranting it to Guy B, who was already across the street. And while doing so, his wallet fell out of his pocket and on the sidewalk/crosswalk area. So, some crappy dude in the bike lane rode up a little ways ahead, bent down, picked it up, and just started heading off. Just grabbed it and began to ride away like a bunch of cars hadn't just watched him. My dad was about to say something when a cop car adjacent to us swerved in front of a cycler and made him give it back. Cycler bumped into the car and was trying to go around when he was tackled. I think they might have arrested him, but the light changed, so we couldn't stick around. Coolest instant karma I've ever seen. Next story. It was an all-good festival once, and there was one of those dudes who was just pure ID. You know, shouting insults, screaming, throwing crap at people, just an animal. He was slightly uphill from a main intersection, only maybe 30 feet from the crowd. I was standing around waiting for a friend. The dude's campsite was total bullcrap, though, with some poorly planned tarp city thing held up by a nylon rope that was strung over a pickup truck and secured by slamming a car door shut on it. Then, suddenly, the guy throws his beer at the crowd, crawls up on top of the car, and starts tight-roping it between the car and the truck. I was very impressed that he made it at least 2 steps before the rope slipped a few inches in the car door. The a-hole guy spread his legs and he dropped 3 feet straight onto the suspended rope. I have never in my life seen a guy rack his balls so hard. In a fetal position, he spun around the rope in slow motion until he was upside down. Then the rope scraped across the roof of the truck, fell between the cab and the bed, partially collapsed the tarp city, and dropped the a-hole a couple of more feet onto his head into the mud. The a-hole got up, shut up, looked a little embarrassed, and limped away as his infuriated friends boiled out of their wrecked home. Next story. So my first car, it wasn't the greatest vehicle, but I managed to scrape some money together to be able to afford it, and it was something I was proud of being able to have when I was young. So I was out driving, running errands in an affluent part of the city when I came to a red light. And these two dudes around my age in some expensive car that was obviously paid for by their parents, with music blaring through their expensive subs, pull up beside me and are kind of snickering to themselves, taking a few glances at me every now and then. Whatever, it's fine. Eventually, the driver rolls down his window and asks, "Hey bro, wanna put that coward thing to the test?" And then he starts revving his engine. Now, me being a little crap, I start revving my engine because I knew they weren't expecting me to do that. And the two bros go, "Oh," and start getting fired up. Then the green light comes and we both slam on our accelerators. Except I cap out at the speed limit. The two douches speed off in a big display and head around the bend. Now, the thing about this stretch of road is that there are usually cops set up with speed traps. So lo and behold, when I come around the bend, their car is pulled over to the side with a cop parked right behind them, lights flaring. They did not seem amused by my smile as I waved past them. Next story. Karma isn't always a bad thing. About 16 years ago in my tiny Dodge Neon, I was at a red light. And I have no reason why, but I gave a homeless person all of the change in my ashtray. The light turned green, and I made my left turn, and a few seconds later, I was hit head-on by a full-size truck. When they were loading my car on the tow truck, the driver asked, "How's the driver?" And I simply said, "I'm fine." He was shocked at first, and then once he realized I wasn't kidding, he said he'd been towing for 20 years and never seen anyone survive this extreme of an accident, let alone be standing there talking to him while loading up the car. Pretty sure I lived due to the good juju. Next story. Was on a road trip last week. Guy in the left lane was slowly passing a truck, so there were about 5 of us stacked up patiently waiting for the logjam to clear. Jerk in a Mercedes breaks ranks into the right lane, speeds ahead, and tries to cut in to save himself 3 car lengths of trouble. All the cars, though, decided to band together to not let him in. He almost ran the car behind me off the road and nearly sideswiped him before taking his rightful place in the back. Well, he was pissed after that and was tailgating and in general driving like an a-hole. He eventually sped off well over 100 miles per hour, then saw him about 20 minutes later pulled over by a state trooper. Laughed my ass off as I passed by his candy ass. Next story. So I have a happier, good karma story that happened to me a few months ago on vacation in San Francisco. Late at night, after a potluck and drinks, my friend drove me to a BART metro station near her house and gave me directions to take the train back to my hotel. So I walked in, I paid my fare, and went underground, only to find out I had just missed the last train. Fortunately, my friend was awesome and gave me bus directions back, but there was another person who had missed the same train, and he was in far worse of a situation than mine. He was drunk, high, carrying massive bags of groceries and alcohol, and was trying to get back to Richmond, the way I came from, and super far away. He also had no way to call an Uber. Feeling bad, I did offer to call him an Uber, and he could pay me back what he could. He only had $3, but so be it. I wasn't going to turn him down. We chatted a while until his ride came. He went off in his merry way, inebriated, and I went to catch my bus. Except when I got on, I realized it was a Muni bus, the other transit company, and so my BART fare wasn't transferable. I'd have to pay again. I realized I had no dollar bills left in my wallet. I spent it all on that useless fare. Panicking, I reached into my back pocket where I keep small change, well, knowing I didn't have enough for the $2.50, and that's when I felt the $3 that guy gave to me. It was such a beautiful feeling, and I think we were mutual guardian angels that night. Also, I realized halfway through the bus ride that I was going the wrong way, but that ruins the story, so I don't usually tell that part, but I did manage to get back on the other side, to be fair. Next story. I work at a movie theater. One afternoon, I was selling tickets at the box office when an older lady came up and asked me a question about our app. It's the Cinemark app. I, however, wasn't sure about the answer and told her that. She proceeded to say very rudely, "Isn't it your job to know? Are you stupid or something?" Then she turned around and noticed the mall cop was writing her a ticket for parking in a handicap spot when she did not have a handicap plate or placard. She took off running, screaming, "Wait, stop, that's my car!" And I couldn't keep the huge grin off of my face for the rest of the day. Next story. I have a positive instant karma. Not sure that counts, but it's a good story. I took my 3 kids, 5F, 5M, 7F, to a local carnival/feast. My wife had some girl brunch thing and did not come. Now, we parked kind of far, so to get to the rides, we had to walk through the concert field where people were staking their spots for the show later on, putting tarps down, etc. Well, then, a young mom and her young daughter walked past us quickly, the mom holding chairs, tarps, etc., and basically has her hands completely full. So I catch up to her and ask her if she needs help, and I take a couple of the bags from her. We followed them to a spot they had, dropped off their stuff, chatted for a minute, she thanked me, and we walked off. Just as we left, my older daughter, 7, looks up to me and says, "That was really nice of you, Dad." It was very cute. Then, right after she said that, a dad walking out of the feast handed/asked me if I wanted some ride tickets that they weren't going to use. So I took them and thanked him. Instantly, my daughter, the same one, says to me, "Dad, that was karma! The tickets were karma for helping that lady." And she was so right. Such a great dad moment. Next story. My boss got instant karma for mocking me. So I had a day off work, and as I was making breakfast, I accidentally sliced my fingertip with a bread knife. I wrapped it up, I went to urgent care. It didn't need stitches, but the doctor put a couple of steri strips on it and said not to use it for a day or two and stay off of a keyboard. I went into work the next morning, told my boss that I had to stay off a keyboard for a couple of days, so I had to do some other kind of customer service that didn't involve typing. She said no problem. As I walked out of the room, I remembered I had to tell her something, and as I was walking back in, I heard her mocking my injury. Just as she finished, she accidentally slammed the door of the 1-ton safe on her hand. I laughed and said karma's a you-know-what. She said, "Yeah, I kinda deserve that." And she didn't break it, but she couldn't use it, so she had to call another supervisor to come in for the day so she could get it checked out. When the gauze came off my finger a couple of days later and saw the strips holding it together, she admitted that it did look kinda bad and she shouldn't have made fun. I accepted, and I brushed the incident off. Next story. Years ago, my bro and I were going to school together. He was driving, I was passenger. The route we take involves going onto a road that is a 4-lane, then becomes 2-lane for a little under a mile, then back to 4-lane. Now, I can't remember the setup exactly, but we turn onto the road where it becomes 2-lane, and we find we are behind a little red compact car. The speed limit here is 35, the car is going 31 to 33. My bro and I are chilling a good distance, the road splits soon, no need to be impatient. But the black sports car behind us did not agree. He rode our tail tighter than insert witty comparison here. The whole around mile, we never saw his grill in the mirrors, just windshield with Sir Jerkface furiously behind the wheel. We approached the 224 expansion, and I noticed a solid white Charger parked on the other side facing the opposite direction. There are 2 guys in honk. And as we approached the split, the little red car naturally went into the right lane. My bro starts to follow it for a second, then catches himself and switches to move toward the left lane. So Sir Jerkface sees this and has none of it. That left lane is his. He sits on the horn as he's guns full speed straight towards the left lane and us. Honk still. My bro quickly swerves right enough just to dodge, then goes back into the left lane as we regain ourselves, and I put together what just happened. We sit there for about 3 seconds, breathing heavily and staring at each other. Then I remember the Charger. I spin my head around to confirm my suspicion. Yup, it tore a U-turn at the split and was rapidly approaching us. I yelled at my bro to quickly return to the right lane. As he completed that, the Charger hit its lights and sirens and sped past us towards the red light ahead, where Sir Jerkface was impatiently waiting. It was happening! We reach them as they are pulling off to the side, and I give an enthusiastic 2 thumbs up to the Charger as we pass. Now, I drove on that road on average 4 times a week for 4 years, and I had not seen that Charger parked there before or since. The one day it was, though, was the day I needed it. My guardian angel, my sweet justice. Next story. So, there was a girl in school who used to tease everyone and just be generally annoying. She was tossing this stress ball around and aimed it at this one kid's head. Someone yelled at him, "Look out!" And he looked up, saw the ball coming at him, and put up his hands in self-defense. It bounced off of his arms and back at the girl and hit her right in the mouth. Now, it was a soft, squishy stress ball, so it didn't hurt her, but we all openly laughed at her and her surprised expression, so she sat down quietly from embarrassment. She still kept being annoying, but she stopped throwing things at people's heads. Next story. At a big sports tournament after a game, and it's raining a bit, an aggressive driver can't be bothered with people rushing to their cars and almost runs over a kid, yells at set people in his way and decides to weave around traffic to get out of the place quicker. Now, there is a sawhorse blocking the exit that he is not supposed to go out of. The rain is getting heavier. Everyone is watching this impatient person as he gets out of his car to move the sawhorse and bypass the traffic lane and pedestrian traffic due to self-entitlement. When he gets out to move the sawhorse/barrier, he closes his car door and locks himself out of the running car. Downpour ensues and instant karma. Next story. Not instant, but when I was a broke college student, the high schoolers down the street sideswiped my car so bad my front door wouldn't open all the way, and the mirror was gone. I confronted them, but I couldn't prove it. Couldn't afford to fix it either. The next week, they come screeching out of the neighborhood while I'm studying next to the second floor window. Well, they crash headlong into a tree and total their car. I had a comfortable view as all four of them got out and the driver was sobbing his sorry ass shirtless on the pavement till his mom came and cussed him out loud enough for the whole neighborhood to hear. Next story. Last week, my youngest daughter had her last day of preschool. Between my two girls, we've been associated with this school for almost 10 years. My wife and I wanted to do something nice for them, so we offered to buy them Starbucks. As I'm about to enter the Starbucks parking lot, a guy runs a stop sign, narrowly missing me. He pulls in, I pull him next to him. I hurriedly scramble out of my car to beat him to the line. And it was fun listening to them call my name for all 15 drinks before that guy got his. Next story. A few years back, me and a buddy were traveling around Germany and decided to go to Amsterdam. The trip there was an absolute nightmare, but long story short, we're on a bus around 11 p.m. because the trains broke down. We also haven't had a chance to eat since early that morning. Everyone on the bus is obviously miserable too. While we're waiting to leave, though, we hear some talk behind us, and it turns out it's some old German woman's birthday. Everyone is singing and wishing her happy birthday when she says something I don't quite catch. So I ask the person behind me what she said, and they say that all she really wanted was some water. Well, I happen to carry a water bottle with me religiously. I hold it up, give it a shake, and say, "Wasser?" And I crap you not, their whole group started cheering and slapping me on the back. Then, out of nowhere, a hand pops up and drops 2 sandwiches in our laps. We were eternally grateful to finally have something to eat. All right, so guys, I don't have anything substantial to say, but this was a beautiful story, 10 out of 10, just phantasmagorical, dare I say. The location, the setup, the water, the old German lady, the food, the cheering, all of it coming out of nowhere, beautiful, best story I've ever read. Anyway, next story. Worked a volunteer shift at a local zoo for parking in the backside. We offered to show where people ought to park, as the only entrance into the zoo is from the front. Well then, Wise Guy and company thinks it's funny to speed up while approaching us, causing us to move out of the way. They thought they had made a smart move to park near the back, but quickly realized it was a dead end, and very far from the entrance. 10 minutes later, they had the long drive of shame. And believe me, we laughed for the entire duration. Next story. Dude tearing up the street, ducking off the road onto the shoulder to pass whenever someone wasn't going fast enough for him, which was everyone. Road was a generous 70 kilometers and he was pushing at least 120 at times. Residential area too. Then, half a kilometer up the road, there was a cloud of smoke. Get up there, and it's the twat himself totaled with the engine pancaked flat. You see, a bus had been taking a wide turn using both lanes, and obviously he was going too fast to register and tried to race up the side as it turned. It had been pushed onto the opposite side of the road. Not a small bus, but a damn school bus. Next story. Started dating a girl a few months back, and her ex was just being a huge a-hole to her, threatening to fight me if he saw me, trying to start rumors, etc. So, went out for drinks with the girlfriend, and, of course, he shows up, starts to get in my face at the bar and gets kicked out, rushes the door guy to get back in, and is carried out and banned from that bar for life. Then I had another genius thought. What if I could do this at the bar next door? It's a smallish town, and there are really only 2 bars worth going to for nightlife, and they're right next door to each other. So, we do go next door. He's waiting outside for me, but there's the usual "don't do it, bro" friends around him, so I make it next door without having to fight. Of course, he comes in, starts his act, and actually tries to fight me this time. He gets pulled off by a few people and is also kicked out of the bar for at least a while. Fight with your brains, people, not your fists. Next story. I was waiting to put in a boat ramp in Florida one day. It was a single ramp. The guy trying to take his boat out of the water was having a tough time backing his trailer down. His wife, I assume, and 2 kids were waiting on the dock. Well, some a-hole wanting to get out of the water starts screaming at him and heckling him. The first guy finally gets his trailer down the ramp. Meanwhile, raging a-hole had docked his boat and started up the dock towards the poor boating newbie family guy, screaming and yelling. Raging a-hole punches family guy and knocks him off the dock into the water. Then, 2 burly dudes that nobody was really paying attention to walk up, literally grab raging a-hole as family guy was falling in the water, throw him on the dock, and handcuff him. Then flashed their Florida DNR badges. They were undercover watching the boat ramp. There was applause and cheering from the folks waiting to put in and take out. Family guy just wants to get out of there and go home, so he declines to press charges, and the DNR guys apparently thought, hells no, and proceeds to tear the guy's boat and car apart and ended up charging him with a BUI and every single nitpicky thing they could find wrong about his boat. It was a good day. Okay, so I'm going to be totally honest. I don't think I've ever heard of a BUI in my life. It's boating under the influence, obviously, but I've never heard about it. I don't live near water, so that's just not something in the day-to-day lexicon of the people in my state. BUI is so funny to me. If I did drink, I would totally drink and drive a boat because it sounds awesome. I'll do it in GTA 6 whenever that comes out. Anyway, next story. So, maybe not quite instant, as the whole thing took maybe 5 to 10 minutes, but back when I worked at a hardware store, this dude threw an absolute crap fit because the system refused to refund 1 of the 16 items he was returning. Dude proceeds to scream at the top of his lungs, shout at, threaten, and get in the face of, in order, me, the other cashier, the store manager, and about 3 other customers. He's told repeatedly to leave the store as he's no longer welcome there, but he refuses and instead stands in the doorway, screaming and shouting at every customer that walks in to not shop there because the store is ripping him off. Well, maybe 10 minutes or so into this whole episode, probably 5 or 6 of which he spent screaming at people entering the store, the cops show up, and his face just falls so effing fast, and he gets real quiet and starts trying to meekly make excuses like, well, you see, they wouldn't return my item, but the cops were basically just like, dude, we don't effing care. They told you to leave, get lost, and if you ever come back to the store, we're arresting you. And what's even more amazing is that we told him we were calling the cops and that they were on his way. I don't know whether he thought we were bluffing or he thought the cops would take his side or what, but yeah. And also, the absolute best part, out of maybe 16 items he was returning with a total value of over $200, the one item that the system wouldn't return was a literal 35-cent PVC pipe fitting. He got the $200 worth of the other items and returned them and got his money like he wanted, but then still felt the need to throw a massive temper tantrum over 35 cents. Next story. So, decades ago, my first husband had died of cancer. He had been much older than me, but it was a love match. One of his best friends, who lived with his wife in my building, came to see me a few days after the funeral. This man had been a guest in my home dozens of times. Anyway, he proceeded to tell me whatever price my husband had been paying me to be with him, he would meet or exceed. When I told him to get the hell out, he essayed me and told me he'd be back for my answer in a few days. The next morning, he was run over by a bus outside of our building. I sat with his clueless wife at his funeral and held her hand. F him. Next story. This'll probably get buried, but a few years ago, it was snowing here in the UK. We only get snow in my part of the country maybe once every couple of years. Now, I was driving home from work, and everyone was obviously taking it slow and careful, as not too many of us are used to driving in wintry conditions. I have to stop for petrol, so I pull over in a garage, fill up, and go inside and pay. When I get inside, there's this effing dude bro mouthing off at the staff for some reason or another. Not sure what he was mad about, but he was being a total jerk to the poor guys behind the counter, and their manager had to come out and calm him down. Then, after he's finally calm, he goes to leave, and the manager says something like, "Have a good evening, drive home safe." And for some reason, this amps the guy back up to 11. He starts going on like, "No mate, no need." And he points to his car. "See that crap right there? Subaru, Rally Edition, all-wheel drive, can handle effing anything. Anything!" And then storms out. The manager just sort of sighs and shakes his head and turns to serve me. I pay for my fuel, go inside, and get back in my car. As I'm opening the door and putting my wallet in my pocket and such, I hear a loud rev and spinning tires. Captain Subaru is roaring out of the petrol station, then goes to turn to leave, and the wheels turn, but the car doesn't, and he slides straight into an enormous tree, which not only seriously damages the car, but deposits a few feet of snow from its branches and practically buries him. Next story. This rich kid pulled up next to me at a red light, at least I assume he was rich because he was driving one of the most recent Porsche models, and he screams at me like he's going to run the red because the rules only apply to poor MFs like you. And I think his ego was blocking his rearview mirror because I saw what he didn't. There was a cop chilling behind us with an eyebrow raised at the guy. So I do my best to pretend I didn't see the cop, and I said to the little brat, "You can't run that red. You're too much of a coward." And so the kid runs the red. I see the cop peel out from behind me into the lane the kid was in and pull him over. I look over at the cop as he passes me, and for a brief moment, I see the cop laughing his damn head off. Next story. My boss gave me a 6-pack of beer for prom night and for working extra hard for him. I didn't really drink and tried to refuse, but he insisted. So I put it in my car and figured I'd give it to a friend who drinks. Halfway into my shift, the owner of the restaurant comes in and fires me because he saw the beer, obviously stolen because I was underage and it was in my back seat. I look at the head chef and he just acts like he's mad too. Then the owner walks me out to my car and is asking why I would do that. I was a good worker for over a year and a half or so. So I just told him, "Yeah, the head chef gave it to me. I have no idea why he didn't just tell you." So then the owner walks back in and fired the head chef. This guy was a big douche and a cokehead, so he went ballistic, and the owner saw a side of him that the kitchen staff saw when it got really busy. The owner's actions really affected me, though. I think that's the first time someone ever really took a stand for me, especially over someone who was obviously making him more money. I will always remember that day. Then I went to prom and just went on high all night. Next story. 4-lane road down to 2 due to construction. We were stuck at a traffic light for way too long because the light wasn't functioning properly to account for the reduced lanes. Finally, we're first in line at the red light, and a PT cruiser decides they're done waiting and pull into the oncoming traffic lane to go through the red. So they get up to us at the front and have to stop because naturally an oncoming car is turning left into that lane. The oncoming car backs up to let the PT go, which then they go through the red. Oncoming car, though, is an undercover cop. And cue the greatest instant karma scenario I have ever had the joy of experiencing. Next story. Okay, so that would be myself. My husband, then boyfriend, was carrying our dog's freshly filled water bowl from the kitchen sink to the feeding mat. The dog ran right into him and the water spilled all over the floor. I laughed my ass off and called him a dumbass. In the 2 minutes it took for him to find the mop, I forgot the water was on the floor and slipped as I walked through it to get to the dryer. I fell hard onto the granite tile. I had a broken arm, I had a mild concussion, and received 8 stitches on the side of my head. Next story. We were boarding a transatlantic flight coming home from the US to the UK. There were 9 seats across the jet, arranged as 3 sets of 3. Me and my siblings are sat in the first 3, then my parents have 2 on the middle seat, and another family of 5 takes up the last 4 seats in that row, and 1 in the row behind. Now, the other dad was very loudly and rudely complaining to the stewardess that he wanted the seat my dad was sat in for his son, sat in the row behind. It was clear to everyone that he had prioritized getting the front row / extended leg room over having his family sat together when he checked in, and was now trying to intimidate the stewardess into giving him both. My dad tried to interrupt with the intention of offering to switch seats because he had already decided he didn't want to sit next to this jerkhead for 8 hours. The guy obviously expected him to say something else, so told my dad to F off and mind your own business. Before he had a chance to speak, stewardess asks everyone to stay calm and says she will be back in a minute. So when she returns, she escorts my mom and dad into empty seats in first class, then comes back and says to the angry guy, "Problem solved, your son can move now." And the stewardess has the biggest crap-eating grin on her face, and the guy was so confused. He got what he wanted, but still felt like he had been screwed over somehow. He just didn't understand how. Mom spent the whole flight in first class. Dad let me and my 2 siblings go up front for 2 hours each, and then used the last 2 hours to himself. Top-tier parenting. Next story. I've got some good karma here. My wife and I were getting some subs at Subway one day, and as I'm checking out, I saw that my bill was about half what it should be. I didn't really think anything of it except that maybe there was some special going on. When we got out to our car, my wife looked at the receipt and noticed that we were only charged for 1 sub instead of 2. So I went back in and told the people about the situation, and they decided to only charge me half price for the sub and gave me a couple of free cookies. So sometimes it works out, to be honest, about mix-ups like that. Next story. A guy was stopped at a red light in the middle of a very busy intersection in a very busy part of my city. This was in the middle of summer, so there's a lot of people around. This guy has a very fancy BMW, and he thinks he's so cool. He blasts his music really loudly and starts revving the engine. The light turns green and he does the whole tire screeching thing, except something doesn't go as planned. There's a strange sort of crunching sound and then a loud bang. The guy has to pull over to the side of the road in front of all of the people he was trying to impress by being a total douche. Lots of laughs were heard from the people around him and instant karma. I don't really know what happened with the car, but I'm guessing some kind of gearbox mayhem. Next story. So, I had an ongoing issue with people illegally dumping in my dumpster behind my business. For those unaware, it's far more expensive to have a dumpster at a commercial property than you might think. Mine's shared with 2 other neighboring businesses and emptied 3 times a week. We pay $400 a month for the service, so when it's suddenly full of garbage that's clearly not for us, it's infuriating. Now, I could never manage to catch people who did it, so I decided to install a camera. I was on the roof of my building running the wiring when, what do you know, some a-hole's dumping carpet and yard waste in my dumpster. And I opted not to confront him and just called my local police non-emergency line and gave them a plate number and description. So the officer came by to verify the information with me, and as we're standing inside my shop talking, I noticed the same effing guy just backed back up to my dumpster. Well, he must have missed the police car in front of my building, or just didn't care. Officer? He made him empty all the crap he dumped back into his truck. Dude had to climb the dumpster and get absolutely covered in yard waste. As soon as it was all piled back into his truck, including the cab since this was his second trip, the officer handed him an illegal $500 dumping ticket. The look on the guy's face was priceless. That same officer has since caught 4 other illegal dumpers thanks to my camera. I even posted a sign stating that it's being video recorded. And people still dump. Now all I do is email the clip to my new cop buddy and he tracks them down. Next story. So, I'm driving on the interstate, 2 lanes either side. I'm in the left lane, while the right lane has a few vehicles next to me I'm just getting ahead of. But in my rear view, I see a guy hightailing it in my lane, to the point where I remember thinking, I'm gonna hit 90 miles per hour to get up out of his way, or I'll try to blinker quickly in the next right lane so this jackass can go on. So I blinker it, black SUV lets me in instantly. Then the dude speeds by and the SUV that let me, undercover, hits on some red and blues and takes on right behind the jackass. Next story. So this isn't instant, but it happened in the course of one day. This is a story that just happened recently. There's me, who's me, Jocelyn J, and Haley H. So, my girlfriend and I have a farm animals showing class in college, and we show goats. Last semester, I wasn't in it, but she was, along with her 2 good friends, Joey and Jocelyn. I helped when I could, but wasn't in college at the time. So, this semester, there was more people. One of them was this snobby white girl named Haley. Haley and Jocelyn are the karma victims in this story, but also a poor goat that I wanted. Now, the goat I wanted was a solid red dueling, brown young goat for all you non-goat people, and I called her out, and I mentioned it to everyone that I wanted her. Most of the other students didn't really mind, but Jocelyn made it known she didn't care. Went something like this: "Me, I want the red dueling, I call her." And then Jocelyn said, "No, you don't." And I thought she was kidding or something because she's good friends with my girlfriend, so I just blew it off as some kind of joke. Later, I said it out loud again, and Haley responded a little like this: "Hey, I called the red one already." And Haley said, "And what would happen if someone else picked her?" "Well, I would hate them for the rest of the semester for being rude." "Okay, well then you can have her. I don't even like her." And I said, "Okay, thank you." Then, for the rest of the class, we had to help set up cattle. At the end of it was when the professor shuffled our names and let us pick in the shuffled order. Sadly, Haley went before I did, and with the help of Jocelyn's number memory, since we picked off the goat's tag number, when Haley heard her name, she quickly looked over to Jocelyn and she responded the red goat's tag number. I didn't know it at the time. My girlfriend was with the goats and told me that the red one was taken when I asked for the red one's number. The professor then asked Haley if she was sure she wanted her, and she reassured her she did. Haley then went into the pen and acted surprised to see she chose the red one. I was livid, and picked a different one. She's cute. Then Friday comes along. After a whole day of grumpiness over my head because someone didn't respect my wishes, my girlfriend and I were working with them since the whole point of the class is to show them off in a competition. We're supposed to train them basically. Then a different student named Danny, basically he's an expert in goat showmanship, came to see how we were doing. During our talk, we mentioned how rude Haley was. He said he didn't like her, then told us that the one I picked looked really promising and the one Jocelyn picked wasn't so good. He also mentioned that sadly the red goat has polio and might not be able to be shown. So by not respecting my wishes, Haley got karma by getting a sick goat. Dodged a bullet there, but I am sad that the goat was collateral damage. Next story. After a night of drinking in lovely Liverpool, ended up in the kebab shop, of course, and there's this one obnoxious, loud drunk girl in one of the booths trying to make friends with every male and flirt her way into free chips. After a while, I noticed that this group of lads had poured mayonnaise all down her black dress as she was talking crap to their mate in the queue. They left, and I subsequently, because of the girl code, went up to her quietly and tried to give her a bunch of napkins and explain. Then she immediately spun around, got in my face, and screamed a tirade of abuse about bothering her. Who the F used to talk to me like that? So I left it. I sat back with my group. Then she promptly sauntered out of the kebaby, forgetting the small 2-inch high step out front, and went arse over tit. Next story. Okay, so I have a positive one. A couple of years ago, I lost my car keys to the sand while having a fire down the beach with some friends. No biggie, I have a spare key at home. Fast forward 6 months and I buy a new car, and my old Subaru sits in the driveway, irritating my girlfriend to no end. So I finally get around to selling it, and some friends of friends take it for a drive before handing the key back. The key, my only key, sits on the counter for a few days, then promptly goes to the same place all my old socks go to. Anyways, another 6 months go by, and my Subaru is still in the driveway, and it is infuriating my girlfriend. But the cost of a new key is not worth it, and I am negotiating to have it towed. Then, Karma Day. You see, it was a really big surf day, one of the biggest of the year, and a buddy and I were doing the drive around to see if any of the beaches were handling it. First beach is big and out of control, and I watched a lady with 2 kids set up a picnic blanket right at the base of a massive rip. The kids are about to go swimming, so I run down and warn them just as they get waist deep. Cool, crisis averted. Buddy and I then check a couple of more beaches and end up at the one I lost my keys at. I look up the beach and lo and behold, there's an old fat guy in budgie smugglers about to get into the water for a swim at the base of a massive rip. I run down the beach and say, "Hey, you're about to swim in a massive rip on a 10-foot day," to which he replies, "Mate, I'm local." And I shake my head saying something about how he should know better. He grumbles but makes a smart decision and leaves the water. So, karma time. I jog back up the beach, and as I do, a guy with a metal detector comes strolling out of one of his access points, and we say hi to each other. I then tongue-in-cheek say, "Hey, if you find a set of keys, they're probably mine." To which he responds, "Subaru?" This guy comes to this beach a few times a year to visit his son and happened to find my keys. They were hanging up on his son's rafter and had been there for over a year. So went for a cruise to his house, got the key, gave it a clean up with a wire brush and some WD-40, charged my battery, and boom, started no problem. Sold the Sub a few weeks later. And it never would have happened if I hadn't run down the beach to stop the guy from swimming out in treacherous conditions. TLDR is, stopped a guy from swimming in a rip and got my long-lost keys back. P.S. There was nowhere to surf that day. Next story. I got mad at my dog one time for whimpering over and over again for my attention, wanting to play with a rope toy. I was trying to talk to a friend about a video we were watching, but my dog just wouldn't shut up. So I turned around, snatched the toy real quick and aggressively, swung it upwards towards me, which in turn made my dog let go of the rope, and it whiplashed. The thick, knotted end of it came straight at my face and smacked me hard right in between my eyes, and effing broke my effing nose. Blood came out of my nostrils like a faucet, and I ran to the bathroom. Everything got all hot, and I was instantly dizzy and lightheaded, so we went directly to the ER. And I just recently got a bill in the mail from Baylor Medical for over $500, and that's even after insurance deducted their portion. The cartilage separated completely from the bone of my nose, and the entire right side is majorly constricted. Reconstructive nose surgery was costly for me to do, or at least seemed too unnecessary, so I instead left it as is. And my skin on my nose, it now feels loose. The bone at the top is slightly shifted, and the tip is crooked very clearly to one side. I still get frustrated at my dog sometimes, but hopefully I never make the mistake I did that day. Because as they say, karma is a B word. Okay, so I don't feel like this is karma. I just feel like this is bad luck. Well, look, we all love our pets. We all love our doggies. And you know what? People say they're members of the family. Has your mom ever annoyed you? Has your sister, brother, dad ever annoyed you? Okay, your pet or child, if you want to call your dog that, okay, they've probably annoyed you before. They annoy me when I'm recording and they start barking. But OP didn't punch the dog or kick it or anything like that, so I don't feel like this is karma. I just feel like it was bad luck. That's just my opinion. But anyway, next story. So, I worked at a major state university as a contract HR director. The head of student housing was this battle-axe, loud, narcissistic, angry woman who bulldozed everyone and everything around her. She yelled at everyone and made demands that were unreasonable and unprofessional. One being she would bring in these huge pit bulls to work that she was fostering, saying they were her service dogs, which scared the crap out of everyone. Then she would fire anyone she didn't like, treated subordinates like her servants. Since it was nearly impossible to fire directors and managers who work for the state, she got away with it. This went on for 20 years. I didn't know this. You see, I was brought in to investigate all the complaints against her and her department. Turns out if a person wasn't gay, she would fire them. She was a straight woman, by the way. Basically, she wanted to be surrounded by gay men who worshipped her as a diva and did her bidding. I figured out the pattern of her firing of straight people for over 20 years. At the end, I had to interview her and share my findings. She tried everything she could to lie her way out of it, but it was documented, and it was clear. Hundreds of emails and over 30 employee interviews past and recent. She then went to the dean and held a meeting, which I was invited to, ranting about how, of course, this typical empowered straight white man would be against her hiring of gay men and discriminate against them. She went on about how no one knew who I was and she had seen these kind of heterosexual men in power before. And I let her rant for a while until she finally stopped. To that, I quietly stood up, walked to the dean, and showed him on my phone pictures of my gay wedding to my husband. And he started smiling and asked to share with this battle axe. I walk over, and I share it with her, and her mouth hits the ground. Her tune changes quickly. The dean tells her she can either retire immediately or he will fire her on the spot. She retires, and the look on her face is priceless. Narcissists are the worst monsters to work with. Next story. Riding shotgun with my dad in a Ford Escort on a 6-lane highway. Really light traffic all around us since it's morning. Jackass comes from behind driving some sort of Chevy Cavalier like it's a Formula One car. He's driving fast and passing cars with a jerking motion, hard inputs to the steering, and after he overtakes, he damn near cuts the other drivers off. Then he gets to us, passes, and cuts right in front of us. He overcorrects, and his car goes sideways about 10 feet in front of us at 60 plus miles per hour. Since he was moving way faster than us, we got an extended view of his driver's side of his car. He looked worried. His car, it stayed that way until it slowed down enough for the tires to grab, and then he drove straight into the concrete divider head first. Since he was still moving forward, his car continued to slide and rotated so that it was facing the wrong direction. This took out the entire passenger side of his vehicle. Airbags deployed, and the only straight bit left was when the car finally stopped, was the driver's side. He looked uninjured. This was an era before cell phones, so we called it on the CB emergency channel, and then we kept rolling. Next story. I have two pretty epic traffic stories, both occurring on the 405 freeway in Orange County, California, aka the Devil's Stretch of freeway. The first one, a-hole in a 40-plus inch lifted bro truck. Not one, but two pairs of hitch testicles, one metal pair, one rubber pair. Douche bro cuts me off at 80 plus miles per hour after successfully cutting 3 other people off in the lanes to my left in his attempt to cut across all 4 lanes of traffic to hit the 55 freeway junction. Well, craphead blows a tire and crashes right into the concrete wall, breaks axles, loses wheels. His giant fake testicles, they were okay though. Then the second one. Girl talking on her phone behind me is tailgating me. She honks at me because I'm not tailgating the car in front of me, which would give her enough space to cut off the car on her left and speed past me. So I look in the rearview mirror and visibly see her say "F this crap" to whoever she's speaking to on the phone. She finally gets enough space, maneuvers around traffic on my left, and speeds in front of me. I anticipate that she will try to cut me off, so I begin to slow down a bit. Like clockwork, this chick swerves in front of me and begins tailgating the car in front of her. I see her laughing while looking back at me in her rearview mirror. Dumbass wasn't paying attention to the dude in the beater car right in front of her who brake checked her. She slams right into the back of the car. Next story. This happened one snowy winter day, early afternoon about 20 years ago. I was driving a 2WD pickup truck down a snowy road at a speed where I felt safe, roughly 30 miles per hour. Posted speed limit was 50 if I remember correctly, when some guy in a Jeep Wrangler starts trying to crawl up my exhaust. He's flashing his high beams and honking his horn, and I can see his arms waving wildly in my rearview mirror. It should be noted that there was 5 or 6 inches of snow on the ground at this point, and the plows haven't run recently, so going fast isn't really an option. It should also be noted that there was a whole other lane directly to my left that he could use to pass me if he so chose. Anyway, given that instead of just going around me like a normal human being, I decided to do what I usually do to a-hole drivers. I slowed down a little bit, put my window down, stuck my arm out the window, and waved it in a circle. The universal, or at least American gesture of go around. And then I put my window back up. So he finally got the message and pulled into the left lane and proceeds to fly past me as if I'm parked. He goes around a corner, and I lose sight of him. By the time I get to the corner that he just went around, I see his Jeep sitting on its side in the ditch on the far side of the road, with tire marks in the snow, showing everyone what had just transpired. I called the local police non-emergency number and reported a disabled vehicle at whatever this road was, I can't remember it at the moment, but said I couldn't stop, so to help them since there was no guarantee that I'd be able to get my truck moving again. They said that they would send a car around when they were able to, and that's the end of that. Next story. Freshman year of high school, walking to class, some older kid is waltzing down the hallway with a pack of donuts. As we get closer, he opens the box of donuts, and he offers me one. I happily oblige, and I reach for one, only for him to snatch the box away from me and give me the classic, haha, got ya type of attitude. But unfortunately for him, he pulled back a bit too quickly and sent the entire box of donuts into the garbage can in one quick gesture. The look on his face was priceless. It was awesome. Next story. The night before, back in the day, I mean like 1988, feel me, I used to work tech support for a big, at the time, computer company. If you do or have worked tech support or similar, customer service or whatever job on the phones, for a company, you know what a thankless, soul-crushing, eardrum-shredding grind it can be. Nice customers who are pleasant and a joy to work with are a precious oasis in a desert hellscape of crusty crap. So I'm working my night shift, 4 p.m. to 1 a.m. It's about 10, and I've already had lunch, and the queue, how many calls are waiting for the uninitiated, isn't too deep. This is the time of night we can relax a bit and take time on calls. Our sense of urgency isn't quite as tight as it would be at 6 p.m. So I get a call from a very nice man who is just cool as a cucumber and polite as you please, calling me sir and saying please and thank you like I'm deciding whether or not to give him a car loan, rather than bear the brunt of why his brand new $3,000 computer system is effing up. And you see, old boy had bought a whole package from us. Desktop, monitor, printer, speakers, the whole shebang. Back then, this crap was expensive by today's standards. Like I said, about $3,000. Just to put that in perspective, $3,000 in 1998 is like $4,500 today. And that's for an entry-level basic computer system package. He explained to me that he'd done a long day at work, his new computer had arrived, and he'd been getting it all set up all evening, but was having issues with the printer to work. Great. Now, ask any IT professional about printers. Go ahead, ask them. I guarantee you they will without exception tell you, man, F printers. Because printers sucked. And oh, they still suck now, but they sucked back in the day too. But this guy's really cool though, and I feel for him, and he's just as nice as pie to boot. So I actually want to help him. But from the instant he had come on the phone, in contrast to his calm demeanor and impeccable manners, I can hear a woman in the background. You dumbass, you dumb MF, I done told you you effing F up one thing we need and it don't work. I done told you it wasn't gonna work when you bought the damn thing because you's a B word I knew. Just a constant stream of piss and vinegar from this woman in the background. Holy crap! And well, if he can ignore it, I can too. So we start to troubleshoot. This includes a couple of reboots, which take like 4 minutes each, during which we just shoot the crap and ignore her saying things like, Lord help me, I should have married Leonard. My mama told me I should have. I told you not to buy a damn gateway. My mama told you, you punk ass B-word. Should have bought a Dell. Should have bought a compact. Should have bought a Hewlett Packard. No, but you had to go on and do so and so and such and such and blah, blah, blah. All the while, he's telling me what he does for a living. He's a plumber, so he's up to his elbow in crap all day, and then he comes home to this? F me, dude. And he goes on about how his kids are mostly grown except his daughter, who's trying to get into college and needs a computer for applications and papers and such. Damn, now I really want to help this guy as much as possible. So we're at a point where I think we can actually get it fixed, though. Reinstall the drivers, connect it at the right time, and we should be golden. It's been like 30 minutes at this point, and she's not only kept up the stream of hate and filth, she's not even getting hoarse. It's actually kind of impressive. Oh, why, I'll let you buy that piece of crap I'll never know. Leave it to you, you dumbass. Gonna F it all up now, look at you. And what we gonna do now? I don't know why you still on that damn phone, cause it ain't gonna work. Because you're stupid. Your daddy's stupid. You a stupid B-word just like your daddy, and I knew it. Now, I explained to my dude on the phone that I think we're almost done and we should hopefully have him fixed up soon. Everything's going to work like it's supposed to, and it's all gonna be fine. It's at this point I hear him take a deep breath, as if thinking, Lord, give me patience, and then sighs out of his nostrils. Yup, definitely asking for patience. Oh, and one more thing about you. You got a little wiener. Lord, I should have gone with Leonard, at least he blah, blah, blah. And I ask him if he's ready to proceed, and he says yes. Sir, will you please excuse me for one moment? For just one moment, please. Sure, take your time. And I smile because you can hear that crap over the phone, and I feel for this poor guy. Then I hear the woman continuing her bullcrap avalanche. My mama told me use a B word. Your mama said use a B word. Why, I never listen, I'll never know. And I told Lisa last week I said such and blah, blah, blah. Quietly slighted by the familiar muffle of a palm covering the mouthpiece of the phone. And then he said, Woman, if you don't shut the F up, I'ma break my foot off in your ass. And then I assume it got real quiet after that, but I'll never know because I literally fell out of my chair laughing. It was all I could do to hit mute on the way down as my headset was yanked off my head and rolled on the floor dying with laughter. Yes, in true 90s fashion, I literally raffled. And I don't know how long I was down there, but when I finally managed to drag myself up to my knees, fishing my headset back, tears streaming down my face, still sobbing with the old chuckle, I pressed mute again and said, Hello, sir? Nothing. Nothing but the low hum of a connected line. SOP with the queue at this depth is to wait a full 3 minutes, so checking in for a response every 30 seconds. About a minute into this, between my checks, I hear the phone scrabble up, and the man's voice say, Hello, sir, are you still there? Why, yes I am, I say with a huge crap-eating grin on my face. Oh, thank goodness. Now, where were we? And we continued and completed the call in blessed, peaceful quiet. All right, everyone, let's just take a breather after that story. Let's just reassess. You know, you ever just scroll Instagram or something like that, and then it's like meme break? We're doing that because that story, I don't know what to say. All right, I think I've composed myself and we can get back to it. Next story. So, wife and I were driving with our son to see his aunt who lives an hour away. We are on a straight that has a speed limit of 50. It's a country highway with one lane each direction. Well, guy in a Mitsubishi Eclipse flies by us. He had to have been doing 80 or 90. Reckless to say the least, but add in that it was raining and right before a turn, and a car had just rounded that turn. This guy was beyond stupid. Could have killed us if another car was coming or if he slid out of control. But continue down the road, chatting with my wife about what just happened. Come around a corner, and guess who's there and run his car into the guardrail? Mitsubishi Eclipse guy. He's not hurt though. He's fired up and cursing himself. Drove by him with the biggest cheese grin I could muster. Felt good to see that instant justice. Next story. Got off the highway and turned onto a road. I'm in the passenger seat. There was traffic in our lane, and a car going the opposite way was trying to turn into a gas station on our side of the road. But there wasn't a legal place to turn into it. The car cut in front of us before we could scoot up enough and cut us off. They inched up, waiting safely to continue to cross the two lanes on our side. They go, and a police officer that just came off the highway slams into the car and runs into a light post. I watched the officer get out of the car, clearly pissed. Now, it may seem like the officer's fault, but it was the other driver because they weren't supposed to turn into the gas station from that side of the road. We didn't see what happened since our light turned green and the traffic started to move. Next story. This is good karma, but about 12 years ago, I was looking for a book at Barnes & Noble, could only remember the cover and seriously nothing else. I had not read it. An employee helped me search for it for about 20 minutes, and then we finally gave up. Then on my way out, a person bumped into a table, causing a huge stack of books to fall off the table, and I figured, that employee helped me for a really long time. I'll pick up all these books. Looked down at the pile of books, and there it was, the one that we'd been searching for all along. Next story. I was talking to the owner of the store I work at and was trying to let her know why I understock beer on the shelves. 3 6-packs fit securely on the shelf, but 5 can be stuffed on if you want to risk them falling off. But she gave me crap about not selling enough, and I replied that I've seen more break than it gets sold. So she stocked the 6-packs as she liked, putting 5 to a shelf, and as she turned her back, they immediately fell and glass shattered on the floor. She refused to say a word to me. Next story. So, most of these are bad karma coming to collect, so I'll share my story of good karma. Now, I was getting my brakes replaced about 15 years ago at a Gerald's Tires in Charleston. I only included the name because if you've heard of them, you know they are the nicest folks around. They even leave roses in your car if you're a woman. Now, while I waited, a guy came in off the street asking for Brian. I don't actually remember the name, but that he works at Gerald's. Guy behind the counter says that they don't have a Brian, but they have several locations, so maybe Brian works at a different one. Guy off the street says he ran out of gas and was trying to bum a couple of bucks from a friend. Guy behind the counter says he's sorry, but he can't help. I had maybe $6 in my pocket, so I gave it to him. He asked for my number so he could pay me back, but I told him not to worry about it. I'm a firm believer in karma. What goes around comes around. I'll get that 6 back eventually. An hour later, my brakes are done, and it's about $220. Guy behind the counter says, what goes around comes around, huh? Good citizen discount, 20% off. And that $6 turned into a stranger saving me 44 bucks. Next story. So, I think I've posted about this before, but it's the best one I've seen, even though it's only small scale. I used to work in a shoe store, and one day I saw a man struggling to balance about 5 boxes of shoes in one arm while he was talking on the phone with the other. I decided it was worth the risk of interrupting his phone conversation to offer to keep his shoes behind the counter while he kept shopping. I smiled and gestured that I could take them for him, to which he gave me a look of pure disdain before saying, I'm on the phone, like I'd just tried to crap on the shoes rather than try and help. But I shrugged and moved on to help someone else who needed something from the stockroom. Then when I brought it back out to her, she was helping the guy I'd spoken to because he'd dropped all the boxes on the floor. Shoes were everywhere. And once we fixed them, he scurried away without a glance at me. The woman gave me that, yeah, I know what just happened look, and we moved on. But that one was my favorite thing that I saw there. Next story. So, a guy in a small sports car was impatient when a truck slowly turned left, so he went off the right side of the road to go around him. He nearly hit a post doing so. He accelerated once he had a clear road ahead, and he only made it half a block when an ancient LTD hoopty pulled out in front of him, and he hit it broadside. Destroyed his car and dented the LTD door. As I walked past the LTD, the 2 guys in the car were sitting there looking fine, and one of them says to the other, hey, just hold up your neck and say it hurts when the ambulance gets here. Next story. Alright, so I guess it's kind of karma for the embarrassment I felt. One day, in 4th grade, we're going over our spelling words for the week. Teacher was having 2 at a time to go up, and whoever was the quickest and spelt the word right got the bonus points, if I remember correctly. So, me and my best friend go up. We get our word, and I quickly spell the word. My buddy spends about 30 seconds on it, while the entire time, I'm giving him so much crap about how dumb he was and taking so long for that easy of a word. But all in good fun, we're still very good friends. But finally, after he finishes, the teacher said he won because he actually spelt it right. Yeah, I was the dumbass that got the sweet karma. Next story. Tonight, at work. It was one of my cashier's last days before transferring to a store in Florida. She's moving down there to live with family because she's fallen on some hard times. We all chipped in and got her a huge gas card to help her get down there. And people also donated gift cards to food places, so she and her daughter didn't have to worry about that either. Then, another coworker got her a really nice zip-up hoodie with Our Town on it and car activities for her kids. It was a surprise, so we didn't tell her it was coming. Well, she called off, said her car wouldn't start. Well, we really needed her coverage. Of course, we made it work, but it was exhausting. I went 7 hours no break and took a 10-minute lunch. Then, turns out her locker was already cleaned out, including the apron that she would have needed for her shift today that is always kept in there. It's against policy to take them home, so it was premeditated. So now we're donating it all to the local shelter tomorrow. Next story. Used to live a block away from one of the cheaper Domo gas stations in the city. Gas was almost always 3 or 4 cents per liter cheaper. Added bonus, Monday and Wednesday was an additional 5 cents off all day. Only 2 pumps though. They put a big handmade sign stating no backing in. It was a small lot, so they wanted to keep a flow of traffic in one way and out the other. So I'm next in line and I see some stupid idiot pull into the lane on the exit side and wait for the pump that I'm waiting for. And I know it's coming. The car finishes up and she shoots her way into the pump where it was my turn. Guy working tries telling her, but she starts getting volatile with him, yelling and threatening him. For whatever reason, he takes her prepayment and lets her start pumping. All the while, I can see her smugly smiling at me and mouthing something. Then her pump finishes up and now I'm blocking where she wants to exit, which is technically through the entrance, and I can see her screaming and pointing at me and the entrance, assuming she's yelling at me to get out of her way, but I ain't budging. Until I notice the golden ray of light shining on the gas hose that's still sticking into her pump. So I put it in reverse. I give her some space and she peels out. The handle popped off the hose, and I will never understand how, but somehow bounced and smashed her back windshield. Stopped dead in her tracks with a deadly shocked look on her face. I couldn't help but get out of my car and knock on her window and point and laugh at her. Told her I hoped being a douchebag was worth it and went along on my way. She couldn't even muster up a single word response. Gas attendant and I shared a good chuckle while I was filling up. Next story. My friend after Sunday service was flinging an empty bottle liter of Coke in the air and catching it. Somehow, we started talking about Star Wars, and he said, "Lucas is better than Jesus," or something along those lines, and I mentioned he should be careful as God would forgive, but it'll hurt his feelings, and it may come back at you if you don't stop. He was the type to try and push boundaries with anything and everything, no regards to others' feelings, but he then proceeds to give me the dirtiest glare like, "Oh yeah?" Then he continues to flip the bottle of Coke in the air nonchalant and repeat even louder, "George Lucas is better." And then a fast and short gust of wind blew so hard, it smacked the empty liter bottle against his face. The sounds of the bottle smacking him in the face and his girlish shriek was the funniest crap ever. He calmly and quietly picked up the bottle as everyone around him laughed at what felt like the most perfect timed event ever. In before, he was a sport about it. Next story. I grew up in a place where mentally challenged people integrated well with society, but a little too well. We didn't make fun of their handicaps, but we would joke around with them. They hung around our town doing crazy stuff. So, for example, there was a mid-20-year-old dude that had all sorts of handicaps and would scream ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, so his nickname was El Tata, and we would yell to him, "Ta!" and he would happily yell back, "Ta-ta-ta-ta-ta," and then laugh his ass off. Then there was another early 30-year-old dude named El Nino, because he would speak like a kid. We would talk to him like a kid, and he'd talk to us back. We'd have silly conversations with him, and that would make him happy. Anyway, my town was supposedly the most macho city there was around, but had a really bad habit of being homophobic, to the point where people would grab you from behind, flick your balls, jam their fists up your ass with clothes on, and lift you up, etc. It was absolutely annoying and disgusting. I would always get annoyed by it. Sadly, though, some a-holes would pretend to dry hump El Nino who didn't know any better, and other a-holes would laugh. He had no idea what was going on, and it wasn't really a humiliation to him, but more of an inside stupid joke some people had. And I saw it happen a lot. Now, around that time, I had a really hot and smart girlfriend, and we barely had been dating for about a month. I was waiting for her, and I don't know what got into me, but I did the dry humping thing, but without touching the guy or him knowing. And, well, my girlfriend just so happened to pop in the second I started, and she screamed, "You pig!" and never spoke to me again. This was nearly 21 years ago, and I've grown a lot, but I deserved to get dumped. Next story. I was turning left leaving a parking lot. It had just snowed, so it was a little icy, and I was a little far to the right, so the car behind me had to wait for me to pull forward so he could do a simple right-hand turn. Yes, I know I was at fault. I see a car pull up behind me and honks his horn. From my rearview mirror, I see him yelling, slamming his fist on the dashboard, and generally acting like a 5-year-old while his wife is trying to keep him calm. I give him a thumbs up to let him know I was okay, and he went through the roof. I ended up pulling forward a little, and he whips along the side of my car and yells at me through the open window, and bam! Right into the side of a police car that was driving past. The look on his face as I drove past was so satisfying. Defeat, anger, humiliation, etc. Road rage and karma. Next story. I don't know if it was actually instant, but found a lost dog running down our street. He was in a total panic and his pads were bleeding, so I assumed he'd been loose for a while. It took a while, but I coaxed the pup into my gated backyard with the help of my dog and 2 Costco-sized packs of sausages, and police came by and said they found the owner, but the guy said he was busy and would come to get the dog when he felt like it. Cops were super annoyed and said they'd take the dog from me and deliver it to the house. Well, I warned the cop that I gave the pup a massive amount of spicy meat, and he was already gassy as hell. Odds were, this dog was going to have explosive diarrhea for the rest of the night. The cop looked me right in the face, still annoyed, and said, "Good." And I have a feeling they never bothered to warn the owner. Next story. My friend and I traveled to a nearby state, but first you need to know that it's India, and we both don't speak Hindi. So going to a new state is like going to a new country. You also have to know something about my friend, who is a very selfish person and a freeloader, who tries to live off of others' money. So the trip is more of us going to film a web series, except for the tickets and some personal expenses, food and accommodation is given by the film production unit. Now, my friend didn't have any money, and I had my very last backup, so our plan was him getting some money from his home and pay for our return tickets to home. But instead, he bought a pearl necklace for his sister and said that the ones who made us stay in their place would pay for our tickets. And he convinced them to pay for it. And they did it without any question. But sadly, the bus we took to reach the train station was stuck in traffic because of some accident that took place. So we missed the train, so the money has been reimbursed to them since we didn't travel. And I had to pay for the tickets. I mean, my friend didn't lose anything, but the money I paid is for my tuition, and I cut off his friendship after he stepped over me a lot. Next story. I was in the line to get onto the freeway. You know where they have the 2 lanes and stagger the cars to get on? It's rush hour and the lines were quite long, and there was a man on a motorcycle, probably a Harley Davidson, in front of me. In between the 2 lanes, though, a guy on a sports bike whizzes past. Thinks just because he fits, he can just go past. I was thinking things like, what a jerk, he should just wait like the rest of us, etc. After a few seconds, the guy on the motorcycle in front of me starts cheering, hollering, clapping. And I have no idea why until I get to my turn at the light and see that the sports bike guy is at the side of the freeway, having been pulled over by the cops. So everybody, a few things to say. First off, a lot of these stories were on the road, which makes sense because cops are hiding everywhere. But if you want a subreddit for that kind of stuff, it's r/convenientcop. If you love those stories, you will love that place because it's this, but in video form. And as for my own relevant personal stories, so I like to play video games, and every now and then, because I hate myself, I'll play Overwatch or I'll play some Marvel Rivals. And look, okay, I'll be honest, I like to trash talk on there. I don't get personal or anything, but I like to trash talk, okay? You know what? 80-20 rule, that's how I handle life. But anyway, one time, it's actually happened 2 times, I was playing with some friends, and the game's neck and neck. We lose the first round, we win the second. And then it's best of 3 rounds. And on the 3rd round, it's at 99%, we're about to win, so I get cocky and confident. I'm like, well, we're 5 seconds from winning. So I type in chat, GG to the enemy team. And then a Doctor Strange portal opens and we get our asses whooped and we lose the game. And my friends were like, Kevin, why would you do that? And I had nothing to say. I felt so bad. And then I did it again 3 months later. So now I have learned my lesson. I do not trash talk until we have definitively won the game because you know the enemy team had a field day with me. I was immediately humbled. There's no coming back from that. You gotta give up. But anyway, guys, we're at the end of the video. Thank you all so much for watching, commenting, and have a good one. Bye-bye.